Hello YouTube, this is Insane Monster doing part 1 of What If Deku Had Crown Clown. Now then, before we start the what if you haven't seen part 0, I recommend that you stop watching now and go watch part 0 on my channel. That way you know what's going on and you're all caught up. Now then, now that that's cleared, hit it. Alright, like usual, if you want any of that stuff, link in the description below. Now then, when we last left off, I gave a rundown on everything that's gone through Deku's younger life and such that has changed from in canon now that he has Crown Clown. Which we get to the beginning of the anime where he does still watch the fight at the train station with Kamui Woods, the villain, and Mount Lady. But we continue back to the class where the same happens and the teacher states that both Deku and Bakugo are applying to UA. Now, in this timeline event, Deku doesn't show off like his quirk as much in class and such, though there are a few people that do know him as the performer Crown Clown who uses his quirks to perform and is allowed to do so due to a special quirk performance license that he does his act with Uraraka, who is going to a different school in this timeline. Some of the kids have seen him with his increased strength and speed and such, so they kind of get it, but Bakugo does know him and what he can really do with his quirk. After school, as he was packing up to leave, Bakugo's grunts challenged him to a game of cards again, which he just smirked, saying, "Alright, but you're gonna lose pretty badly." In the end, we get to the part to where Bakugo's grunts are sitting on the floor in their boxers because they were giving Deku too much and had to resort to using their own clothes as bargaining chips. Well, though, since they didn't want to break any laws, they didn't gamble with actual money. Deku returned their clothes and started to list what they owed him. Let's see, you owe me 10 sandwiches, 12 fried chicken legs, and Bakugo chimes in saying, 2 pizzas. Thank you, 2 pizzas. Alright, see you later, and remember to bring that tomorrow. Which they're just so sulking with Bakugo stating, "You really should learn by now." With his grunt saying, "Yeah, but we know he's doing something to win that isn't fair. We just can't figure it out." With Bakugo remarking, "Yeah, and you probably never will. Now get dressed so we can leave." As for why they were betting food, Deku's metabolism due to Crown Clown is very heightened, even with the quirk gene reacting to it in such a way that it doesn't shorten his lifespan. He still has to eat a large amount of food. So, since they can't gamble with money, they actually gamble with food on the line. At least that's what Deku gets. And he always frickin' wins. Afterwards, giving a devilish grin like Alan Walker during and after a game of cards. So, we get to where he's walking back home, until he ends up meeting face to face under the bridge or underpass, whatever you want to call it, with the sludge villain. He instantly activates Crown Clown and uses Crown Clown's cloak ability to send two yo-yo looking things like in the Gray Man anime that smacks the sludge villain right in the eyes, and a few of them smacking them in the teeth, causing great pain, until All Might pops out, which he quickly deactivates his Crown Clown, and All Might takes it from there, stopping him and bottling him up. As he goes to jump away, Deku asks for an autograph, which he does give him, and jumps away. He turns on his phone and calls Uraraka, as they talk about what they'll be doing, since it's going to be 10 months until the whole UA entrance exam is. Since him and Uraraka do their performance together to get some money to put in the savings account for Uraraka to have in case of emergencies for her family. They agree that since UA's coming up, that they're going to stop their performances for a good bit so that they can train. As Deku then replies about how much food he got out of Bakugo's lackeys, which Uraraka just found amusing. Though there was a loud explosion that happened nearby, All Might's pants pocket tore and the sludge villain slipped out. As he hurries up, going there, telling Uraraka that something's happening and he'll call her later. Hanging up, with her being a little miffed about it, if I'm using that word correctly, but whatever. When he gets there, he sees the sludge villain, thinking that he might have gotten away while All Might was in mid-air flight jump, whatever you want to call it. But after hearing that that's the sludge villain caught a kid as a hostage, and seeing all the fire and damages, he takes a look and sees that it's Bakugo. He ducks down a little bit and quickly uses his Crown Clown. Though one man noticed this after seeing him for a slight glance. This was obviously a blonde man that looked like a skeleton. Next thing you know, Crown Clown Deku is charging straight at the villain, with the heroes telling him to stop and get away from that villain. Instantly, Deku is dodging all of his attacks from the sludge villain, as well as using his cloak part to send a piece of it to grab and wrap around Bakugo, and use two other ones to latch on to some light posts nearby, ripping him clean out. And at this point, with Bakugo being flung over to the heroes being caught by death arms, Deku hurries up, dodging the sludge villain's attack again, then using his cloak as much as possible to completely encase the sludge villain to where he can't get out. Seeing a nearby metal barrel, he opens it up and then uses the cloak of Crown Clown to more or less pour him into it, as well as sealing it nice and tight to where he couldn't get out. But the street was still on fire, so he's figured that since the villain's locked up, that he should have a little fun with it. Using the cloak to undo the opening on a nearby fire hydrant, he then uses most of the cloak from Crown Clown to wrap around the opening and create some kind of white tree picture looking appearance, but without basically a barren tree without leaves kind of look, but pure white. Which then he takes a sliver of Crown Clown to twist the top to release the water. Next thing you know, water's shooting out of all the ends of the white tree looking thing, extinguishing all the flames on the street. He tightens the valve on the hydrant again to make it stop, though he has some heroes running right towards him saying, "Hey, you know that was pretty crazy. Do you even have a hero license?" Which he then remembers that he only has a performance license, taking out some of the, though he does have a little something to help him, taking out some smoke bombs he uses for him and Uraraka's performances, slamming them right to the ground, creating enough smoke for him to use Crown Clown to swing away without anybody seeing. Which Bakugo's just thinking, "Jeez, always so showy, aren't you?" After that, when he's going home, Bakugo runs up to him yelling, I could have handled that on my own. I didn't need your help. I had him right where I wanted him." Which Deku just stated, I would assume halfway down to your stomach? Which Bakugo just said and yelled out, "Screw you!" and just walked away. As he began to just walk off, we see All Might coming up to him like in canon and started talking to him, stating that he never imagined that the performer Crown Clown was a middle school student. But he's just nervous at this point, thinking he's in trouble. But then All Might deflates while laughing, spitting up blood, with him panicking and all. The same explanation that he would give Ken and Deku on the rooftop, he gives him right then and there. After that, he then begins to explain his power and offers it to him. Surprised by this, but excited, he does accept it. Though he does ask some things like, what was that thing he used to get away? He just opens up his bag and shows that there's a couple of different things in there, explaining that, well, to the public, it's some of the things that him and Zero G use in their performance. Curious about who Zero G is, he does ask, what about Zero G? Is he going to try to become a hero? He says yes, but I'm gonna respect her privacy and keep her identity to myself. All Might understands that and gives Deku an address, a location to meet at, which is, as you guessed, Dagobah Beach. At this moment, Uraraka and Deku will be focusing more on their studies as well as training for the entrance exam, so the performances are on hold and they'll only meet each other every now and then for things like dates and such. Once Deku gets to Dagobah Beach, he sees how covered in trash it is. After All Might gets there and explains what they'll be doing, he agrees, and then they get started. So, All Might is intrigued for how versatile his quirk can be for both offensive purposes as well as defensive, even using it to get around and in all sorts of ways. Whether it's even in mid-air, he can use it to pull himself to dodge attacks. He finds it pretty fascinating and wonders and asks, is there any other facet to it? Deku says, well, there is. I don't really know what it might be right now, but I do have my eye, which he does remark about the marking on his face, stating that I figured it might have something to do with your quirk considering your red arm and the red marking on your face. Then he shows him what his eye does when he activates it, telling him that by that he can see a kind of aura around people, and in a way he can kind of sense what that person's quirk is by that aura. Though when he takes a look at All Might, it's really different. He replies that he can't quite tell what it is, and that it's like a bunch of different auras all together, which All Might did remind him about how this power has been passed down from user to user for a while, so that's probably why it looks like that. Which he just smirks, thinking, well, that's pretty incredible. If you could see what I see, I think you find it very enjoyable. All Might takes that as a compliment, which it is, and they continue training. Make it with his increased strength due to Crown Clown, he is able to get everything taken care of with the beach rather quickly. I want to say he gets about 2 months early, meaning he'd been cleaning that beach and studying everything for 8 months. Along that time, he's heard some of his classmates mention how they're bummed out that Crown Clown and Zero G haven't been performing for months. But some of them are wondering if they're taking a vacation or something. Deku just walks by saying maybe they're preparing for something big. Which they do get kind of curious about that kind of idea, as he just walks away as they continue talking about it. Calling Uraraka every now and then, being shocked about how their classmates are reacting to Crown Clown and Zero G not performing for so long, which she agrees is kind of weird, especially considering that they don't know that they are Zero G and Crown Clown. But also finding it a little entertaining in a way. Now, once we get to where Deku finally cleans up the rest of the beach and everything, it's time, and All Might plucks a hair and gives it to Midoriya. After some time letting it digest, like All Might said it would have to, he falls asleep. So, when he opens his eyes, it isn't on deck of a beach. It's in this dark area, where he sees a man who has a similar marking on his face, along with Crown Clown, but he has white hair. He asked who he is, and the man stated that you can call me Alan. And then hearing another voice. I wondered when I'd get to meet you. Alan looked over and just sighed, saying, really? Do you really have to sneak up on him? Which he did, and ended up kind of spooking Midoriya a bit. This man had purple hair. He had a very unusual dark skin tone, and markings across his forehead. As Alan Walker stated, you know, Nee, you really shouldn't be sneaking around like that, even if this is a shared mind space. Also, how are you even doing that anyways? Nee smirks, saying, doesn't really matter. Alan continues, remarking, well, are you gonna try to take him over? Nee said, I already tried once. Apparently, when I hitchhiked with you, I and we became one with him, something changed. Honestly, I thought I could affect your innocence this time around, but nothing. And when it happened, something else felt strange as well. Alan remarked, "Yeah, I noticed. Apparently, it's not a, my innocence isn't affecting you." As they both smirked, with the Deku just yelling, "Okay, what's happening?" They just look at Zuko, laugh, chuckling a bit, stating, "Nothing much. You can just think of us as a part of your quirk, something that lays dormant, but is a source of power." And then Deku asks, "Okay, but what was that stuff about taking over my body?" Nee just shrugs his shoulder and says, "Doesn't really matter now. I can't do it, it seems, anyways. At least not with you." Funny that, ain't it? As he just smirks. And besides, even if I could, it seems like if you even if what you and Alan work together to stop me, it seems like you wouldn't the two of you wouldn't be alone. As they look back to see like 8 figures st- standing in a bit of a distance. It was odd. They looked like they were in a daze for a moment there. But Alan got back to talking, stating, "Yes, but it seems as though no one is going to do anything to harm you or your life. So, Nee, are you gonna help him?" Nee thinks for a moment and then states, "Maybe not right now. I want to see what you can do in this hero course thing first. If it gets really interesting, then I'll consider it, though it might be a while till you meet us again." With him saying, "Okay, but who? Okay, so wait, you're a part of my quirk, but jeez, does that mean you're gonna be talking to me all the time?" Alan stated, "No, no, we mostly just stay dormant and quiet. It's just that this is a special occasion and a very special, well, unique circumstances to say the least, which is how we're talking to you right now. But for now, you should wake up and try your new power. Since you use Crown Clown so efficiently, you should be able to use this new power just fine, considering that is somewhat similar to controlling energy." Which is when Nee says, "Well, bye," as he flicks him in the head, and Deku wakes back up, wondering what the hell was that. Which All Might walked over, asking if he was okay, that he kinda jumped up on him for a bit. Deku replied that he was fine, and then got up so that he could test out his new quirk. He powered up Crown Clown, but something felt different. It felt a lot more powerful. As he goes reeling back for a punch, he controls the energy, distributing it. Controlling a Crown Clown's cloak is kind of similar to controlling some, like, I guess you would consider it controlling a cloak made out of energy, which in a way it kind of is. So he can manage it just fine. When he goes to throw a punch, we see a good bit of shockwave that splits the ocean in front of them a bit. He gets a little excited and then tries it with his other hand, the one with the blades on it. But this time, instead of a punch, he goes for a swipe. Seeing as he swipes down with the power coursing through it, it splits in multiple different areas for each of the blades on his fingers. which he's just excited about. All Might said that now that that's taken care of, it's time we get you used to using that. Which they spend the next 2 months training until the UA entrance exam. Now then, this was part 1 of What If Deku Had Crown Clown, and like I said, please, if you disregarded my advice, if you haven't seen part 0, I suggest doing that now. So please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bells so that you get instant alerts for when I upload a new video. Hope you enjoy.